Okay, before we get started, I want to say this briefly. I have to say this for myself because I'm not tooting my own horn. This is, you can look at my content. I may not have everything in playlist, but you can look over for the last 4 years of NXT. Since 2.0 started. Look at NXT and you'll see I'm one of the few people who was reviewing it when nobody wanted to generally review it unless they were kiss asses. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, JD, on his review of Raw, right before he started his monologue, he was talking about there are people that are online, there are people on X, there are people in the IWC that they're saying that NXT is the best show that WWE puts on. And he says, well, I can understand what's going on with AEW and SmackDown because it sucks. But saying NXT is number one, that's a bit of a stretch because Raw is the one that's going on. Well, when he did that statement, right afterward, and I'm sure a few of you have watched his review along with that monologue, he said, I may have to start watching NXT now to see what the deal is. I may have to get back into it. I've been reviewing NXT for nearly 4 years or more. Nearly 4 years. Almost 4 years. Or at least slightly, at least 4 to maybe 4.5 years. Because after AEW started, I also was beginning to review NXT again. Because I did a brief review of it back in the 15, 16 kind of thing there. But then it was just pissing me off that anyone who went to the main roster after they got over was destroyed. So I got sick of it and I stopped doing it. But when 2.0 came out, I thought I should review it. And I've been one of the few people that has been constantly reviewing when it was 2.0, when it became 2.50, when Sean was allowed to do a little bit more once Vince was gone, and now 3.0 with the changeover, how pretty much Paul Levesque wanted, and now Sean had to retool his work compared to what he had to do with when it came to Vince. So I've seen 2.0, 2.50, and 3.0. I've reviewed them all almost constantly. And now, I don't know about just Alex. I haven't checked him. But JD may want to start doing it. Good for him. Now, I'm not rubbing it in his face because there's no point in it. He is a reputable, incredible wrestling reviewer and podcaster. He's earned everything he had, and so does just Alex. They make money off of what they do. They love what they do. They're making money off of it. I'm not. But now that they paid attention to something that they should have at least done some talk about, maybe once in a while, an episode of NXT, even if they don't like the brand, at least if they say, like JD said, that it's not like he doesn't see it, but I think he should have at least reviewed a couple of episodes over the last 4 to 5 years of the rebranding of 2.0 NXT, 2.50 NXT, and 3.0, just to let people know that I see you. Not just maybe mention a person or two, but if an episode is actually good. Now, I've been doing this for 4 years, or maybe about 4.5 years, I think almost. I could be wrong about the years, because I think I started somewhere between 2019 and 2020, when right in that middle area where it was nearly 4 to 5 years. I think 4.5 years, I think. I can't really remember when I started doing NXT. You guys can tell me below if you check. It's probably 4 years if I'm wrong. Maybe 3.25, or maybe 3 years and 8 months, 7 months, whatever. Probably wrong about near 5. But this is what you get right now. I thought I'd say this. I know it's a long-winded thing, and I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes. So let's get on to it. CM Punk made the show. I think that might be the best statement out of all of it. Now, I want to tell you that a lot of development was done in this episode of NXT leading to, and I thought it was the 1st of October. Now it's the 8th of October. I might be wrong. It might have been the 1st of October, and I might have got it confused with the 8th. I think it might have been the 8th, but I thought it was the 1st when they were going to start, because the 1st is on a Tuesday. And I thought they were going to start on that Tuesday, but it's the next Tuesday, the 8th. So we got a lot of content here that I did not like, but also I did like. and things that are set up for that first show on the 8th when they finally go to the CW. Now, you know what? I'm going to skip the opening with the contract signing because there were 2 contract signings. I'll do them at the end of this review. But let's go to the first match. We can zip through the matches because they were good matches, but some of them were important, some of them were not. Look, first match, Wendy Choo and Rosemary versus Lara and Tatum. I am mad. I'm sorry. I know you're going to say, hey, the match wasn't bad. Hey, this is good to see Lyra is doing something with Tatum. And Wendy has not been forgotten. I understand that. And there's not much of a problem with that. But we now just had Rosemary, who's been one of the most prominent people on TNA / Impact. She has been prominently featured for years. She's a former at least 2 or 3 time Knockouts champion. She's a multiple time Knockouts tag champion. She has been in some of the most prominent storylines, including I can't believe, Who Shot JR segment and marriage with Johnny Bravo. This woman has been used for years and people love her. And how many times has she won on NXT? I'll give you a minute. I think my watch stopped. None! What the blue fuck? This woman has been hosed by TNA. Okay? I don't care what you think. I've always loved TNA. I've loved Impact, but I'm always very critical of them because I know how they operated. And they've always operated stupidly in some cases and brilliantly in others. Scott D'Amore did some good work, but also had shitty work that was either not fully properly done or just flat out stupid. But the talent in many cases have been treated properly. And I look at Rosemary, who, I'm going to say this right now, I do not know her. But if I know her well enough from interviews she's done, and what few she's done, and what she does on screen, she is not angry about losing 3 times. I am sure of it. She is fine with it to a certain extent. She's on TNA and also on NXT. She probably sees this as a gift. She probably always wondered what it would be like to work in WWE. And now she has a moment. But she's now enhanced talent. She's helping Wendy Choo. She's enhanced talent. And when you look at what was going on when it came to TNA, and yes, Wendy looked good with Jordan Grace. When it came to stay calm. Victory Road was not a bad show. I've said it myself. That was the most well-produced TNA Plus show I've ever seen when it came to production. That was the best they've ever put on. And the show was good. But still, I'm wondering what's going to happen when it comes to Rosemary, when it comes to TNA. Because I just don't see Jordan Grace jobbing to Rosemary at Bound for Glory. If they even do it at Bound for Glory. Rosemary has now had 3 matches on NXT. She's had 1 match where she got put over with an enhanced talent. Her only match she ever was put over by TNA Creative. So that makes 4 matches where 1 of them she was put over and 3 of them that's in another company that made her job her ass out, and that pissed me off. Now, let's look at Hammerstone versus the Don. Now, the Don paid him off. Last week, he couldn't get the job done against Ubafemi, which wasn't a bad match. He was mad. Tony D'Angelo was pissed off that Hammerstone could not get the business done. He told him, I want you to go and do it again. He says, no, I'm not doing it again because he's a beast. You should do it because, hell, you want me to beat up on somebody that you can't do yourself? And what did Tony D'Angelo do? He got mad and he said, I'm going to be in a match with you. And this is what we got. And Hammerstone won the match. But he won because of count out. Purposely counted out because Tony D'Angelo could not get it done in the ring. He felt like he was no match for Ubafemi. And now he feels like he wasn't even a match for Hammerstone. He was so deflated that he just walked away. And it was Rizzo, after the match, after he was dressed, that had to go and talk to him and say, what's wrong? You don't need to be this way. I know fear. I've been there. But the family's behind you. Don't let the fear control you. Get another match. And he said, what happened if I lose? And she says, then you lose. But the family's here for you. You're not alone. And what was it? Was it Tony that said, I guess we got to get some training in? No, Rizzo said, we got to get a little training in. Or was it Don that said we need a little bit of training? Either one said it and they gave a hug. That was a beautiful segment. This was actually well done with the lights out in the arena. This was afterward. Lights out in the arena, or one of the training areas. I felt that was done very well by Rizzo and well by Don. I felt like it humanized him more. To show that he can be vulnerable, that also could show that he can show emotion. He was so upset that he let down the family. He loves Rizzo. He loves Stacks. He loves Crucifino. He loves them. He doesn't want to let them down. In his eyes, by doing that, is a disrespect to the family. And Rizzo said, no, it's not. We still love you. Let's get it done. And let's move on. Next, Ashanti Adonis versus Eddie Thorpe. The fake player versus a real player that's not trying to be a player at all. He's just trying to be himself. And here's the thing. Adonis from Hit Row has always been a very good wrestler, but he's never had a good gimmick. He has been brought into NXT. Hell, he had a flower he handed to one of the women that was in the arena, and got a kiss. I don't know if he knows her in real life or he just gave it to her because it looked nice. Until he lost, and that woman was pissed off that he lost. I don't know what they're going to do with Adonis. I think if his contract is up, he needs to leave. Because as it stands right now, he has been on the roster for quite a while now. They left him in the back. Then they let him do something funny with AJ Francis, who did that move that made him get basically treated like shit. That Tennessee whiskey move. Because I'm now remembering it, because I couldn't remember in Victory Road. And he was so humiliated, which he took it. He didn't cry like a bitch. But now you look at Adonis, who legitimately is a good wrestler that has never had a good gimmick. Where he's here, he's trying to be a player, but then he's not succeeding. And he's being more enhancement talent than anything else. Still, he needs to leave the company. He is not gaining anything. This is me. I'm telling you now. He needs to leave the company. Excuse me. My allergies. I'm just saying. He needs to leave. Next. Let's move on to Devon Evans and Cedric Alexander versus pretty much a no-quarter catch crew. The returned Tavion Heights. And, was it Tavion Heights? Yeah. And pretty much Bourne. And I think the problem I'm having here is this. We just had this match. We really didn't mean much. The Faces won. You know they're going to win. No Quarter Catch Crew is not a major player in NXT roster. They're just not. And they should be. But this was setting up a match between Devon Evans and Randy Orton. Now, of course, he spoke to Ava earlier. And then Randy tweeted, basically, I'm going to be there. I don't have a problem having a match. There you got. I'm just... Sorry, my battery died. I'm just like, guys, they're putting a lot on Devon Evans. I do not think he's ready for this much exposure. But like I said before, he feels like the next Ricochet. That's what I think they're doing here. Having him have this moment with Randy Orton. I truly believe that within 2 years, he is going to the main roster to take the place of what Ricochet did. Because I truly believe they want a very, very good high flyer. And they've decided they want Devon Evans to do that. And I truly believe they're going to rush it. I do not believe he'll be ready when he goes to the main roster. They're going to push him there quickly. And I don't believe it's going to work very well. Particularly knowing how the main roster doesn't always book people correctly. It makes no difference Triple H doing it When they have too many people, what do? They stick them in the back, and in many cases not sure what to do with them, so they make them go transition back and forth between NXT and the main roster, whichever brand they're on. And to be honest, I'm worried they're going to do that to him. He needs time. I say 3 years minimum before he goes to that roster. And I'm hoping that's what they do, but throwing Randy Orton at Devon Evans when he's barely been there a year, I don't think is right. I do not see him ready at all for something like this that's going to supposedly what? Boost him? The only thing he does is fly around. He has no character. But this is just me. Moving on. Okay. Jensen versus Lennox. I've only seen the guy twice wrestling. This is the second time. And he's a good wrestler, but I have no idea who he is. Being an intelligent pro wrestler isn't a good character all the time. And yes, see him as what they would call a bookworm with glasses, and seeing that Brooks Jensen messes with his glasses and he gets pissed off and wants to break his face is not really enough to really mean anything. They have no direction with him yet. But when it comes to the reason I'm botching here is because of John Spears. That he is the focus of giving Jensen a direction. I don't know how far they're going to go with this direction with him, but at least I will say it is interesting to a point. But they got to do something with him. He needs to be pulled on the trigger with something. Either he needs to go to the main roster or he needs to go after a title. And I know Ubafemi is not dropping that damn title too soon. And there's no way that Ethan Page is going to be going up against Brooks Jensen either. So, there you go. Let's make this clear. What did we get with Lola Vice versus JC James? A possible team-up or possible feud between Lola Vice and Jada Parker before they come together and go up against Fatal Influence. I'm not against it. Sometimes they have to fight one another to realize they're better together. So that I can understand. But you would think, since Lola Vice was pushed so heavily with Natalya and several other women, you would think that she doesn't really need to be teamed up with anybody. You just need to keep booking her strongly. But at this point, they want to push Miss Parker now, and they don't want to just leave Lola Vice alone, so they're just going to throw them together. That's how it always goes. Stick two people together to see if they work. And I do not know if this will work, but I'm not surprised they're doing it. And it could work. At least they could help elevate each other for a while in a feud with Fatal Influence. Fallon and JC James are experienced, but if we want to say anything about Jasmine Nix, she ain't anything yet. She's just this. Compared to Fallon Henley and JC James, who have been very well built up, either as faces or heels, they've had either way to work and show what they can do. So this is what we got. Alright. If I'm forgetting anything, I'm only going to say about Zachary Wentz. Showing the footage of Trey getting his ass whooped by Wes was good. Wes saying what he said was good. I'm not going into detail because I don't want to make this too long of a video. But let me give it to you like this. When this match happens, the question's going to be, what would they do with Wesley after Zachary is finished with him? Or is when he's finished with Zachary? Because they want to end this feud, which it might end, but I don't know. A street fight doesn't feel like it'll end it. I feel like a last man standings match or a first blood match might be the best, but in this situation, we just had one last week with Trick Williams and Pete Dunne. I don't see them doing a second one so quickly after it, so a street fight's all they got. So the question is going to be, what is Wesley going to be after this? Because Zachary's going to be Zachary. He's going to go back over to TNA. He's going to do whatever he's going to do. But Wes, that's going to be the big question. Are they going to push him enough that when the time comes for next year, he'll be ready for the main roster? Because honestly, he is. But this is just me. Let me give it to you like this. I'm going to combine CM Punk with the two segments he was in with the women and the men. Let me give it to you like this. when CM Punk came out, that really picked up the show. Now, they were cheering and they were singing his song, Cult of Personality, the first time it came out. The second time, they seemed not to be that interested in doing it. Either it was the mics or it was the fans who didn't need to sing that much. But the first time they did. And he came out and he put everybody over. He put over everybody in the back. He basically said, hey, I'm loving this. And I asked Shawn Michaels, because they're going to be in my hometown, can I be a part of it? And he says, all right, kid, you'll be allowed there. And just to make it even more interesting, you can do whatever the hell you want, which he enjoyed that. He was very happy there, at least until Roxanne Perez came out. And she did her monologue, her promo, if you will. Let me give it to you like this. Because she's an actual fan of CM Punk. She's made that openly. She's loved CM Punk. Of course, she also loves AJ, but she loved CM Punk. That's no exaggeration. So that was a little, that first little bit before she did her actual promo was real life. I am 22 now, but I'm still a little kid. You have not been here for a decade. I was 12 when you were here. My younger self would be crying out and screaming with joy. So that's why she was a little screwed up. That was legitimate. But she got herself under control and did her heel run. Talking about not only she loved AJ a little bit more, but Drew was her favorite. And you should just go home because Drew's going to whoop that ass. And she's going to take on Julia and she's going to whoop that ass of Julia. She was focusing all her aggression, all of her vitriol instead of on Julia, on CM Punk. And Punk took it. He didn't cry, but he said it. Can I speak now? The first time, no, but then he did, and he said, you know what? I'm not mad at you for what you did right now, because I appreciate it, because I've done it. And as the chip was on your shoulder, I had one too, and I can tell you it was as big as you. Everyone was a little, oh man, you actually talking about a, yes, he did. Why not? He has perfect right to say she was a damn shrimp. She had perfect right to call her a shrimp. But, essentially, he did put her over, but he also set up the match they're going to have on the debut on the CW. That is nothing wrong with that. Julia comes out after that and pretty much says you got 2 weeks before you lose your title. Now, what I didn't expect was when Julia turned around, dropped the mic and turned around, we got literally a cock block from CM Punk to Roxanne Perez. She wanted to whoop that ass with the title, and he cock blocked her, putting his arm out and saying, no, and she wanted to rip his head off, but she can't. So Julia comes up in her face, laughing before, and then just does this in her face. I find that very useful because when you see the situation, a lot of times you get the same old thing, whether it's on the main roster or in NXT, that you don't see the women being stopped when you see them attacking someone. Seeing that CM Punk did it, though those two women know CM Punk, well, not personally, but they know the history of him. He is a legend in his own right, and they're not going to do anything to him. Particularly, he's got a match at Hell in a Cell match coming at First Blood. So they're not going to hurt him. Then we had the two contract signings where the first one failed and the second one succeeded. Let me give it to you like this. Did I like the beginning of the first contract signing? Yes, Ethan sounded good. The crowd fucking with him was good. And seeing that he nailed Trick Williams before they signed the contract was good because you had the build-up that's going to be ending at the end of the night. Now, since I don't watch the NBA anymore, I'm going to be honest here. I haven't watched a basketball game in over 20 years. Officially, I haven't watched from the beginning to end. I have not watched. No, more than 20 years. 28 years. It's been a long time since the Knicks had a chance to win and then they imploded because someone got angry and they started fighting. That was the last time I watched basketball. So when it comes to Hamilton, well, I'm just going to say the guy that is a two-time All-Star champion. Let me give it like this. All-Star is not that great anymore because of how the basketball players act anyway. Before, 30 years ago, they really cared about the All-Star game. Now, it's not as great as it used to be. But he's done it twice, which I do commend him. But he was brought out to mediate this. And I think the person that would have been better would have been CM Punk. But they did it, and he just was very dry. Now, of course, CM Punk did eventually come out after the contracts were signed, and he made it very clear that this is going to be in his town. This is going to be very important, that whoever wins this is going to be the one that's going to be leading NXT in a direction that the other will not. Basically like what's going on in America right now. I'm not mentioning it about what's been going on politically, but that's what they did here. A diametric shift of which wrestler's own belief is going to lead NXT on the CW from this moment on. So he said there had to be something special. So guess what? CM Punk made it very clear. You need something special. And everybody started chanting referee. And Punk said, that's it. The fans wanted to get it. I am going to be a special guest referee. And I can tell you right now, the best thing that's going to be done is that you're going to listen to everything I say, both of you. And because I get to say what I want, we're done. You can start beating up on each other. And they started fighting, and you could see Punk in the back like this, enjoying every minute of it. Punk made the show. Yes, we had a good amount of content, but Punk made this show. I do not know if the ratings are going to get a good bump because of Punk, but I can tell you this, when it comes down to it, this was a very good segment. Now, compared to what maybe just Alex or JD would say, was it better than Raw? Which I did watch Raw to a certain extent and was good. But did I believe NXT was better? Yes, not just because the content was better, because honestly, they're still in a holding pattern. And yes, a good amount of things are being done when it came to CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and several other situations that's going on, like Gunther and pretty much Sami Zayn. What's going to happen with Jey Uso and Braun Breaker? Yes, we are getting these things. We are. But they are still in a holding pattern. They don't want to do anything major until they go to Netflix. So they're doing good, but they're not really doing great. Unlike NXT, that because they're going to the CW, they're putting in a very hard effort. Not all of it great, no, but it is way better than what Raw would do. And that is why I think it's better. Not because the content is better, it's the effort. That is what I see it as. Which brand is giving the most effort? CW is only 2 weeks away. Netflix is several months away when it comes to Raw. SmackDown this week will be airing, and it has aired now. Oh, has it aired? Or is it about to air? I think it has aired. So when you see this, NXT is the only one that has done some effort. That's just me. Peace.